Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the channel. So, with about 6 straight episodes of the My Favorite LJN tournament in the books, I'm like, you know what? I think it's about time that I kind of put a little separation in between the videos. So, uh, last week I finally started picking up some additional items, making some purchases, and a few days ago I did get a large shipment of new acquisitions, new collectibles in. So I figured I'd make this more of a pickup video. And it's so freaking crazy, man. Now you guys seen how I basically took this crazy large freaking basement. Man, this basement I could have utilized as like a third living room. I could have utilized it as like a fifth bedroom type of deal. But I ended up turning it into, well, it could have been like a man cave type of deal, but I ended up turning it into like a toy room of sorts. And upstairs in one of my spare bedrooms, I made a video. It's obviously updated now. Now I actually got things displayed on the wall. So at some point, I'll probably make another video kind of showing you the displays. But in that room, I kind of look at the room and I walk around. I look at all the darn collections. I'm like, this is insane. I would have never considered myself to be a toy collector. The Power Ranger toys, I mean, yeah, I had that stuff from when I was like crazy young, when I was 8 years old, when Power Rangers first came out, and when I was like an addicted fan and whatnot. But like, that's just something that was like always there. But back in my house in Chicago, I had my upstairs bedroom, large bedroom. Technically, me and my two brothers were supposed to share that bedroom, but like I never spent any time in that bedroom other than maybe going up there, grabbing clothes, or maybe playing video games or something. But like, there's this small bedroom that's kind of like, you had my mom's room, and they had like these two glass doors that kind of led to this little smaller room, which I just kind of refer to as the back room, and I kind of used that as like my bedroom because I spent the most time back there growing up, and most of the part. So the Power Ranger toys, they were all just kind of like on display in the upstairs bedroom, which I didn't really ever pay attention to. And when I graduated high school and joined the Army, even when I came back to Chicago in 2005, my wife had come visit me in Killeen, Texas, in Fort Hood, and we had gotten married. And a few months later, I had gone back to Chicago because the Army was going to go in and back to my house in Chicago. We're going to go to her house and basically move us officially and move us to our first apartment in Killeen. And I was able to move off post and move into our first apartment. Those Power Ranger toys, I mean, they meant a lot to me, obviously, from childhood. And I wanted them, but like, I had no use for them, not really. Not as an adult, not anymore. I left them behind. Eventually, my mom moved out of that house and packed up all those toys into like a bin. And it was kind of funny because like my very first deployment to Iraq, 2006, 2005, 2006, I was in Iraq and I was watching, or maybe it was later, maybe it was 2000, maybe it was my second deployment. So the 2008, 2009 deployment, I think it was the second one. I was watching 40-Year-Old Virgin. And that's like the first time I ever realized that toys were actually worth money. I never thought about it. Not really. And I watched that movie, I'm like, and you know, this guy's selling off like all of his 1970s Spider-Man and Marvel figures and mint card and whatnot. I'm like, man, if I ever go back to Chicago, I need to go get my damn toys back. Because I had so much of a collection of Power Ranger toys, it was insane. So yeah, I had that collection and I kind of like laid them out, but again, it was just something that was there. But a few years ago, I started watching these different channels, and you know, collectors like Fig Heel, for example, and what was another one? Kyle Peterson, obviously. You kind of see these guys in massive collections, and you start getting inspired. Or you watch someone like Jammer's wrestling magazine collections, right? And I wouldn't think of like magazines as being something that I ever cared about, but you kind of see the passion there, and you're inspired, and so now all of a sudden magazines are kind of have its own little passion for you, or your own little motivation to start collecting those, and that's what these videos are all about. It's kind of motivate others and inspire others that may not have had any kind of inkling towards collecting certain items before, but maybe they kind of feel differently nowadays. So I'm walking around these rooms and I'm seeing all these collections. I'm like, how quickly that these collections actually spawned was insane. And I've gotten onto Mercari the last several days, and I've been buying up a lot of mint on card Ninja Turtle figures. Yeah, I've got my loose figures right here that I bought a whole ton of, and I said I wasn't buying Ninja Turtles no more. That's it. But I've been buying up a lot of Ninja Turtles. I finally got my first 2 mint on card original 1990s figures, and I won them on auction. I got them for like around $20. They're a couple April O'Neil figures, so not super valuable, but the fact that they're original 1990s and not the Playmates 2020 releases, which is awesome. So that purple room upstairs in the spare bedroom, Ninja Turtles, a lot of the 1990s superheroes, like Power Rangers, like Beetleborgs and Mystic Knights and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm even throwing in Ninja Turtles onto that list as well. So that room is building up super quick, and it looks super amazing. Well, today I'm not going to be looking at any of those Ninja Turtles that I've acquired or anything like that. I am going to look at some of the mint on card figures I have purchased, wrestling figures. And before I do that, I mentioned Jammers. And there's one magazine in one of his videos. He was looking at video magazines from like 1990 to 95, 95 to 2000, etc. And there was one magazine that really stood out to me, and I'm like, man, I gotta get that magazine. Just because of the characters on the magazine, it was incredible. And yeah, you do have to pay up for it a little bit, but to me, it was well worth it. And I kind of feel like this is more of like a commemorative type of magazine. And at some point, whenever I finally do go through all the magazines, this will be one that we go through page by page. But it is what I call, or what they call, the Bart Foundation. This was May 1997, which features, of course, Bret Hart and Bart Simpson. I'm like, that is freaking amazing. That's why I love watching these different collectors, man, because you never know what you're gonna come across. You're gonna find that one item that really speaks to you and that you just gotta have. So, and getting this magazine, I'm like, what? That just motivates you to go out and just buy even more freaking magazines, kind of build your collection. So, well, shoot, man, I've got probably 150 magazines or something I got to go through at some point. I don't know. It's going to be a process. And at this point, with the tournament ongoing, I may not even do the magazine reviews anymore this year. I might wait till 2025 and make that like its own sort of tournament type of deal, where every single day I'll do a new magazine review, kind of like I'm doing with the tournament. And in between every 3, 4, 5, 6 videos or so, I'll come out with like a video like this or something. But alright, so there are certain figures that Jakks Pacific came out in the 1990s, and I still stand by the comment that Jakks Pacific is one of those companies I feel like have absolutely no freaking clue what they're doing when they create action figures. They, in my opinion, have the ugliest and worst action figures ever made. And among their collection were the bone-crunching action figures. Again, you look at figures like Sid Justice, I thought was terrible. Their Bret Hart, I thought was, again, one of the ugliest figures I've ever seen. I'm like, this is terrible. And the way that the legs and the arms kind of swivel up, I'm like, that's just doing way too much. With Hasbro's up and down like that, that's awesome. But like, you have all these different features to it. It was terrible. Mattel is not much better than Jakks Pacific. If Jakks Pacific is at the very bottom tier of toy making, Mattel is a slightly above them. The only thing that saves Mattel from being better toy makers in the wrestling world are figures like the Mattel Retros, because the Retros are at least similar to the Hasbros, which are the greatest storyline ever. And I kind of feel like even the Superstars, where it's, very Remco-esque figures with a nice LJN card backing. So lines like that really help. Or you look at the mutants, you look at the zombies, and you look at the monsters. Those three different lines right there, the monster lines. The figures themselves, again, they're bad figures as far as playability, but I love the uniqueness and the ghoulishness of the figures, right? So I love that aspect that they kind of create with the monsters, a werewolf figure and a mummy and a vampire, etc. Or you got these mutants and you got these zombie figures, kind of like your Walking Dead and whatnot. So those lines really help. But then you get like these Mattel Elites. I like these really crappy white card backgrounds and whatnot. Mattel is not that much better. Now, recently, from major, what was it called? From the Figure Collection website, either their actual, if you go on their website directly, or if you go on eBay and look up Figure Collections, the Wrestle Something Wrestlers have come out with their own variants of the Hasbro style wrestling figures. They've also come out with their own variants of bone crunching action figures. And those bone crunchers from Jakks Pacific I thought were terrible. But kind of seeing what the Wrestle Something Wrestlers did with their figures, I'm looking at the figures, I'm like, you know what? I looked at the Blue Meanie, who I really don't know anything about, and I looked at their Atom Bomb, and I'm like, these figures are not bad. These are not bad at all. The rubber is incredible. They look playable. They have nice grips to it. The look is fantastic. I like hearing that little crunching when you sit there and you bend the knees. All of a sudden, I've become a fan of the bone crunching figures. And that's what I'm talking about. Certain things that inspire you. Things that you did not appreciate before. Growing up, I despise Remco. I never had Remco figures. I had the bootleg variants of them. But I always thought those were Remco, so I always hated Remco figures. Up until a few years ago when I started collecting wrestling figures. And now Remcos are like 5, 6 favorite toy line. Definitely one of my top 3 favorite toy lines to collect. So, well, I did buy an absolute ton of the different bone crunching action figures on card, and I got a ton more loose. Am I going to go out and get the entire series, or the entire line of every series? No. And there's particular reasons for it, but we are going to look at some of the recent purchases that I did pick up. First one we're going to look at is Undertaker. Luckily, I do have an Undertaker figure loose that I bought a while back. I think I got him off of Mercari. So, the figure, it is this figure with hat accessory. So, I don't have to worry about going out and trying to find this one loose. I already have him. Card backing is not bad at all. Figure, of course, name recognition with The Undertaker. Awesome looking figure. And, I think I have Goldust, maybe, and I want to say I have a variant of Bret Hart. Here's the problem. You have all of these different series, all of these different card back types. You always seem to get the exact same Bret Hart figure. And as someone who didn't grow up playing with these, having this toy line, or didn't know anything about this until a couple years ago, I'm not very familiar with this toy line, so when you start looking at the different variants and different colors, I don't know what goes to what series. So, and it could technically be the exact same figure for every single series. So, do you really need to keep getting it over and over again? But bone crunching figures, I believe this is series 1. It doesn't say series number on here, so the assumption is there. I also was able to pick up Diesel. I believe I got all these figures for off of eBay, and I believe it was free shipping. Kokomo Toys, I believe, is a toy store in Indiana, and shoot, man, if they're in Indiana, they may not be too far from me, so I might be able to drive to them. But free shipping, and I got these for relatively decent prices. I don't think majority of these cost me any more than like $15 to $20. I think maybe one or two of these figures I might have spent like 30 on, but overall, considering that free shipping and the prices compared to what they would normally sell for on eBay, I feel like I got a hell of a deal. The Diesel figure, to me, is an absolute must-have, and he actually looks like the Mannix figure, sort of Hasbro-esque bootleg version. The Mannix wrestling figures in line. So absolutely super glad to add Diesel to the line. The it kind of sucks with the hanging tab being destroyed, but among carded figures, knocking out 2 out of 6 just off the bat, that was pretty fantastic. Now, not the same series. This is a Series 2. And I like that it actually tells you Series 2 right up here, so that helps. But what do I talk about? Once again, you go back to Bret Hart. And alright, so this is a pink shirt, black pants, while the other one was black shirt, pink pants. So it is going to be a different figure for Series 2. You got another Shawn Michaels. Swap out the blue pants for red pants. But The Undertaker, he looks exactly the same compared to the first series. So, this is what I'm talking about. It always seems like your Shawn Michaels and your Undertaker and your Bret Hart are constantly being released repetitiously. So basically, off of this, Vader to me was like one of the most important figures. But I am also dying to get the Ultimate Warrior. I do have that one loose, so that helps. Owen Hart. Owen Hart was actually being sold, and I lost out on it on auction. I think he ended up selling for close to $40. So, if I could go back, yeah, I would have actually bid up and bought that one. Paid more for it, or offered more. Kind of funny. I actually noticed this on Fig Heel in one of his videos when he was doing a review on different Vader figures. And one of the complaints about the different Vader figures is kind of like the drawn-on red for the face mask, and then the crazy look. And because there's so many different versions of Vader released in many different series, all with the exact same look, you're going to get that same look repetitiously. So, I've always thought that these things always had both the knees and elbows had the bone crunching, but like for this figure, it says it doesn't come in the knees, but it's in the elbow. Now, I won't actually know unless I actually pull this out of a card, which I'm not doing, but it sucks when you're sitting there and you're trying to find the perfect sweet spot to hear that little crunching sound. This one's a signature series, and this one was important to pick up only because it was Legion of Doom. But we're going back to a Series 1 card, right? But you're looking at this, and it kind of feels like so many of these... You know, I had this figure at one point. I had a lot of these figures, and a lot of these figures, like the 1995 release of the Bendums. Up until this past Christmas, when I went on this massive Bendums collection and started picking up like dozens upon dozens upon dozens of carded figures over the course of, a dozen series or so, I had a ton of loose figures, and I just did not care for them. They weren't anything that really spoke to me. Yeah, getting the LJN bendies were one thing, but those particular figures, they meant nothing to me. But then I saw a video looking at the Bendums, and suddenly I was inspired to pick them up. And then Christmas Eve, went on this massive spree that kind of carried over, and over like the next week or so, Well, you guys saw my room during, or saw that space during my room tour. You saw how many figures I picked up. So, Hunter Hearst, I really don't care about. Legion of Doom obviously was a huge one. Mankind, just because he's Mankind, and Goldust would be a huge pickup. Steve Austin is so plain. I had that figure. I stole him. I didn't care about it. I don't know. But when it comes to collections, I don't necessarily have to sit there and say, well, Signature Series had 10 series. I don't know. I'm just throwing out a number. I got to have all 10 series. No. If I have Series 1, as long as I have all of the figures from Series 1, I'm good. If this was Series 5, as long as I picked up all the figures from Series 5, I'm good. But I've talked about lack of space, right? And these figures, they don't sit in my main display room anywhere out here. They sit in that storage room on the bottom of the white shelves where you never even see them. So they look pretty. Oh, kind of looking at this, I'm actually going to do a review of the Ringside Collectibles bell-to-bell figures. You know, the Remco style figures. I don't know. On card, I thought those figures were absolutely spectacular, but I'm going to probably look at some of the Remco versus Remco style figures, like the bell-to-bell, like the Mattel Superstars, and the Asylum Remco style figures, and kind of do a comparison. He kind of reminds me of that bell-to-bell figure, because when you take them off the card, they're not as spectacular as I would have initially imagined. This one is a Ringside collection, and is there a series number on here? I don't see a number, but oh, here it is, Series 1. Sable. So, I believe I have Sunny on the back side, and so I would think, yeah, the referee and Vince McMahon would probably be necessary. And theoretically, I would love to get the tag teams. I lost out on the Godwins. I think they ended up going for over $30. But again, that's another thing that I really wish when I bought the rest of these figures that I really paid up for or offered more. Because I don't covet these figures the same way as a lot of my other collections, there's a certain price limit that I put on these figures. And I always think about resale value as well. So, like, I look at this figure, I'm like, well, maybe $10. Just throw out a number. Because I kind of feel like if I try to resell this, I probably wouldn't be able to sell it for more than $7, $8, $9. And if you're offering $15, $17, $20, $22 on auction to buy this, you're never going to be able to resell it if the time comes. Problem with me is when it becomes part of my collection, it's impossible for me to let go of it. So unless I end up with, like, this one's kind of bent, right? So unless I end up with one in better condition in the future and it allows me to resell it, that's a different story. But at that point, I might just take it off the card, but I don't have enough of these figures to warrant displaying certain figures loose. This is a series. This is a series 1. Yeah, it's series. No, that's series 3. Okay, so those are all series. I thought that was a series 1. But Mankind was a necessity because on the back of the card, I already have Ahmed Johnson. I have Bret Hart. I want to say I have Psycho Sid. I could be wrong. No, I might be missing Sid. I might have British Bulldog. So getting Mankind was necessary, and I have Shawn Michaels. So I think Sid I don't know. Either Sid Justice or British Bulldog. I have one. I don't have the other. I don't know which one, though. I know I'm missing one, but it's one of those two. And, of course, Mankind, to me, again, one of those characters that's an absolute necessity. So here's a figure, doesn't have anything in his feet, but he's got the little bend in his knee, but nothing in his arms or anything like that. So when I talk about picking these figures up, it's important for me to get the figures that I have already for respective series, because I at least want to complete that series. But getting these pieces and trying to add them back to that collection in the back, I gotta move some stuff around, because now there's no space for them. I really want to put these higher where they can actually be seen, because some of these are worth it. Last item is a Series 4 Bad Boys. I honestly don't know if a Series 3 Superstars and a Series 4 Bad Boys, if these are literally the same exact thing, or if Bad Boys is considered to be a completely different line. If you got like Series 1, 2, 3, 4 Bad Boys, because again, I didn't collect these, I didn't research these, so I don't know if they're the same thing or not. I think it's irrelevant, because I don't intend to go out and acquire every single piece. But it was just nice to add something different. I do see this Bad Boys every now and then. I think in the past I've seen Vader once or twice on auction. I've tried bidding on him just because he's Vader, and I've always missed out. And you do see Vader back here as well. And I always had a lot of these stands. I never knew where they came from. I remember going to this local toy store and I bought like a ton of them. And I put my Hasbro figures on them, especially the ones that don't stand up really well. Not really realizing that they go to these particular figures. Yeah, on the back here, I don't recognize any of these. Occasionally, you'll look on the back and there'll be certain figures that kind of stand out. This one right here, Crush and Clarence Mason. On the back wall over here, there's a, what is this called? I think it's called Manager's Collection or something, 2-pack. I have that one. And the one for Bob Backlund and the Sultan. If Ram Treasures, if they had made this Bob Backlund instead of the wrestler Bob Backlund, again, if they had turned their LJN Bob Backlund into what they did with Brother Love and put a suit on him, you never would have seen that rubber and everything. I think that would have made that figure so much better. So, upgrade. Kind of like how you upgraded your Legion of Doom. I think that's what Ram Treasure should do right there. But then again, that's another $150, $130 I have to spend to buy another LJN figure. So I'm like, you know what? No. We got Bob Backlund. I don't want another one. If that was like a first time go around, that would have been better. But at this point, I'd rather see a figure or a character that we don't already own, right? But that is it for this video. I mean, there's a lot of... I talked about the room tour I did upstairs a while back. Now, since I did that room tour, I started hanging everything up on the wall, so everything looks nicely displayed. There have been a million upgrades. Like, I purchased a million different Big Bad Beetleborg figures that are displayed on the wall. Even though my main Power Rangers are displayed down here in this big, long cabinet right in front of me, and then the two shelves over here, I have a ton more stuff that's displayed on the wall and whatnot. So the layout is beautiful up there as well. And I think it was important to put Power Rangers up there because with VR Troopers and Masked Rider and all those superheroes, it was necessary. And I started getting a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff in. A couple of them are vintage 1990s, but a lot of them are the 2020 remakes, which I really don't want. I want the original stuff, but sometimes you can't be picky. I remember when I first tried going for that Shredder, Playmates 2020 variant of Shredder, and I won them on auction. I paid I think I won for like $17, $18, something like that. And I'm like, alright, there's something wrong here. There's something very, very wrong with this auction. This has got to be a fraudulent sale or something. Not a fraudulent sale. Not a counterfeit. Like a remake. It's got to be a remake because there's no way that an authentic vintage 1990 Shredder figure that I had as a kid, mint on card, would sell for less than $20 freaking on auction. This could be a first time seller listing his very first item. This could be a guy that has 8,000 items listed for sale that's been selling for 20 years. There's just no way that item would go for less than $200 or $300. And sure enough, when I got the package in the mail, it was like 2022, 2023, something like that. I'm like, damn. The card looks nice. I mean, the figure looked 100% or two of the original figures. So I've gone and I purchased several more figures just because, I mean, it's better to have something that's kind of like brings you back to that 1990s vintage Ninja Turtle series. The real Ninja Turtle series. You see any of this modern day crap, and that's sad, man. With technology up, as technology gets better and improves, it feels like sometimes the quality of movie watching and TV show watching is such severely decreased. I will take vintage 1977 Incredible Hulk Lou Ferrigno over any of the CGI crap you get any nowadays. So, and then you look at like your 1990s Ninja Turtle movies compared to like your 2014 CGI Ninja Turtles and so on. You can't compare it. So yeah, that's probably what my next big push is going to be. It's probably working on Ninja Turtles. Not a lot, but I feel just like enough that's I could have a nice big square to put up on the wall. So if I ever do another room tour in that room, again, it's a not a big room like this, so it's like a 15-minute video or 10-minute video to walk through everything, but it kind of gives you guys a better view of what's out there, what's available. Alright guys, I'm probably going to stay down here and make one more video and kind of kick into the 19th episode of the LJN tournament. So I'm going to stay down here and make that video. And 32 minutes, crazy. I got to learn to shut up. These videos keep going longer and longer every time. But as always, guys, you know, I always appreciate you taking the time out to watch my videos and support me. It always does mean the world. And I look forward to talking to you guys in the comments and seeing you in the next video. Until then, goodbye, everybody.